Hi guys, this is Ryan with the scienceofdeduction.org. Today I just wanted to talk briefly about something that I'm always interested in, and that has to do with improving skill sets and improving talent. I think a lot of us think that we're born with talent or it's just in the genes. Now some of us I think do have innate abilities that can certainly contribute towards our skill set, whatever we're trying to get better at. But actual talent is something that can be improved upon and that can grow over time. And this is kind of backed up by this information that I'm reading in the book called The Talent Code by Daniel Coyle. You can check it out on Amazon. I'm reading it with a book club called the Morin Music School, and we're just having a great time learning about how talent is cultivated. So you have these people they could be historical or they could be now, like Bobby Fischer or Mozart or even like Michael Jordan, for example. How do these people get really good at their craft? How do they get so talented? And you could say, oh, they're just born with it, but the reality is we don't always see the backstory of the time that they spent practicing. Bobby Fischer was obsessed with chess. He just spent all of his time invested in chess, studying the game, working on his moves, his middle game, his end game, all this stuff. His openings. Michael Jordan, I don't know everything about his biography as far as like how much time he would practice, but as a child, I'm sure he practiced quite a bit of basketball leading up until the time that he got into the NBA. Right, and then also Mozart. I've heard some different, I guess, ideas about how much he must have practiced because his father dragged him all around Europe performing, even when he was a really young age. But even before those performances, it's likely that he spent a good like 7,000 hours before the age of like 9 learning about music. And we know that 10,000 marker is the marker for what's called like a master at something. So if you want to get like world class, 10,000 hours is kind of the 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 number that a lot of people put. Of course, that number can be arbitrary because depending on how you spend your time, could be the difference between that 10,000 marker being the one that says, oh wow, this person's incredible, or this person's, yeah, they're good, but they're still lacking in certain areas. And so I just wanted to focus on two things that I took away from this. And one of them is about deep learning. And deep learning, what it looks like is failure. Once again, what it looks like is failure. And it's if we thought about it as maybe an illustration, we could think about an infant. Infants don't know how to walk. So how do they improve in that ability? Well, obviously they observe, they can see their parents or whoever else is in their life walking around, and at some point they realize that they have the same bodily functions and that they can also move their legs. And what they do is they try to stand up and then they fail. They try to stand up, they fail. After a while, they do stand up, but then when they try to take a step, they fail. Now, on the surface, that's what it looks like, failure. But really, each time what they're doing is they're firing their neurons, which then go through a circuit, right, our nerve, and then this stuff called myelin wraps around the nerve, and then it improves the myelin improves the actual the firing, and so you get a little bit more efficiency and a little bit more growth each time that you fire something. And it might take weeks, it might take months to improve a circuit, but that's the idea behind it. Eventually the child may begin to walk on their own and in time begin to run. But that's what we can do whenever we want to improve our skill sets. We actually need to fail. We need to push past our current ability and risk that we're not going to succeed. And I think as an adult, that's really challenging because a lot of us, we want to be successful. And what that looks like on the surface, we see somebody like, I'm going to go back to like Bobby Fischer with all his victories. On the surface, it just looks like, man, this guy's just really, really good. But really, he had a lot of times when he would fail, maybe internally or against other opponents along the way to try to improve his ability. And what he's doing each time he does an opening, he's wrapping that myelin around that circuit. He's improving its efficiency. Every time that, Nolan Ryan would throw a baseball, he was improving his myelin. He was wrapping that circuit. And so if you want to improve your ability, you have to push past your current abilities. You have to be willing to fail. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get some myelin that wraps around your nerves, and it's going to improve your abilities in the long run. The other thing I just wanted to talk about was, I guess, finding your own little skill box. And in the book, he talks about this idea that, like, Brazil, for example, is really good at soccer. And the question is, why are they so good at soccer? Is it just talent of these people? Well, if you look historically, Brazil wasn't really that good at soccer. I think it was like the 1940s or something like that that they really improved. And if you look at the biographies of different players, you'll find that they play this other game that was established in, I believe, the 1930s called futsal. And futsal is this game that you basically have a ball. It's like half the size of a soccer ball, and it's played with 5 or 6 people in a room versus like a field. So it kind of looks like soccer, but it almost looks more like basketball or hockey. And the ball is heavier, and it requires more precision. You touch the ball a little bit longer, right? You have to think a little bit quicker because you have more people closer to you, right? And so I think the estimates that they talk about, the numbers on here, was like you touch the ball 6 times more every minute than you would in soccer, and then 600 times more in the span of a game. And so whenever you're playing futsal, you're playing in situations that are much more challenging and much more stressing for you as a player than in soccer. So whenever a person switches to soccer, all of a sudden soccer seems easy. So if you can find your own little skill box, right? I'm calling that a box because it's like the idea of playing in a room, but your skill box, if you can find something that pushes you past your current abilities, right? Obviously you want the skill sets to be very similar. Then what you're going to find is that when you come back to your original craft, all of a sudden it gets a lot easier. Right, so guys, take care. Love to learn again, and I hope to see you guys again soon.